I was halfway through a 6-hour drive when my GPS lost signal. Not recalculating, not frozen, just gone. The screen turned black. My phone had 1% left, and the road ahead looked endless. No houses, no lights, just trees and fog. Then I saw it. A tiny gas station glowing in the distance. The sign flickered, open 24 hours. I pulled in fast. My car was almost out of gas anyway. The place looked ancient. One gas pump, rust everywhere. The windows were so dirty I couldn't see inside. When I stepped out of my car, the air felt wrong. Quiet, too quiet. No bugs, no wind, nothing. I walked inside and a bell dinged overhead. An old man stood behind the counter staring at me like he'd been expecting me. "You're late," he said. I laughed nervously. For what?" He didn't answer. I grabbed a water bottle and some chips, but something felt off immediately. The chips expired in 1998. The water bottle label was faded yellow. I slowly looked around. Every item in the store looked decades old. Then I noticed the newspaper on the counter. The date read October 14th, 1987. My stomach dropped. "That's not funny," I said. The old man tilted his head. "Funny?" The lights buzzed overhead. Then I heard it, my own voice, outside. "Hello?" it yelled. I froze, because I was inside. The old man smiled. "Don't answer yourself," he whispered. I ran to the window. Standing beside my car was me. Same hoodie, same face, same terrified expression. The thing outside slowly turned toward the building and smiled wider than a human mouth should. Then the lights went out. Complete darkness. I heard footsteps sprinting toward me. When the lights came back on, the store was empty. No old man, no newspapers, nothing. I ran outside, jumped into my car, and sped away without paying. 10 minutes later, my GPS suddenly turned back on. I looked at the map. There was no gas station behind me, just woods. I still don't stop driving at night anymore. And sometimes when my phone glitches, I hear my own voice whisper, "You're late." My mom left me alone with my 7-year-old brother for exactly 2 hours. That's all it took. At first, everything was normal. He was eating cereal and watching cartoons while I played video games. Then he walked into my room wearing sunglasses and said, "Do you think raccoons believe in taxes?" I should have known right then the day was doomed. About 20 minutes later, I heard screaming outside. Not terrified screaming, cheering. I opened the front door and saw a crowd of people surrounding our driveway. My little brother stood on top of a cooler wearing a winter coat, swim goggles, and rain boots while holding our leaf blower like a guitar. "Welcome to the bread zone," he yelled. People were recording him. Apparently he had gone outside and started giving motivational speeches to random strangers walking by. Nobody knew why, but for some reason people loved it. One guy was crying laughing. Another lady handed him $5. Then my brother pointed at a pigeon and shouted, "You owe yourself greatness, Kevin." The crowd lost their minds. I tried dragging him inside, but someone yelled, "Let the kid cook." And then it got worse. A guy from a local news station showed up. The reporter crouched down and asked, "What inspires your message?" My brother stared directly into the camera and said, "Spaghetti fears me." Silence. Then the cameraman started wheezing. By the time my mom got home, my brother already had memes online. Someone made a remix song out of "Welcome to the Bread Zone." Another person printed his face onto t-shirts. My mom looked at me and asked, "What happened?" I honestly still don't know. But every once in a while, someone recognizes him in public. And without fail, my brother slowly puts on sunglasses and whispers, "Kevin still owes himself greatness." I stayed after school to finish a history project. Big mistake. The library closed at 6, and by the time I packed my stuff, the hallways were completely empty. At least I thought they were. As I walked toward the exit, the lights suddenly shut off. Every single one. I groaned and pulled out my phone flashlight. "Hello?" I yelled. No answer. I pushed on the front doors. Locked. I checked every entrance I could find. Locked. That's when I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, heavy, thump, thump, thump. I figured it was probably a janitor. So I called out again, "Hey, I'm stuck in here." The footsteps stopped immediately. Then silence, a horrible kind of silence. I stood there waiting, then came sprinting. Fast footsteps charging across the second floor. I backed up instinctively. Something slammed against the railing above me. I shined my flashlight upward and saw a figure standing there completely motionless. Tall, too tall, its head tilted unnaturally sideways. I couldn't see a face, just darkness. Then the emergency lights flickered red. The thing bolted, not away from me. Toward the stairs, I ran. My backpack flew off my shoulder as I sprinted down the science hallway. Behind me, I could hear feet slamming the floor impossibly fast. I ducked into a classroom and locked the door. The handle immediately started shaking violently. Bang, bang, bang. The tiny window on the door slowly filled with darkness. Something was standing right outside. Then I heard whispering, my own voice. "Open the door." I covered my mouth, trying not to breathe. The whisper came again. Open the door, then silence. 5 whole minutes passed before I finally looked outside. Nobody there. I stayed hidden until morning. When the principal unlocked the school, I told him everything. He laughed and said I probably imagined it. Then he stopped smiling because scratched into the classroom door were 3 words: "Let me in." I didn't even want the dog. After my grandpa passed away, nobody in the family wanted to take his old golden retriever Max. He was slow, sleepy, and honestly kind of grumpy, but somehow I ended up with him. The first few weeks were rough. I was struggling with everything. School, sleep, life in general. Most days I barely talked to anyone, but Max always followed me around quietly like he understood. Every night he'd lay beside my bed until I fell asleep. Then one winter night changed everything. I was driving home during a snowstorm after work. The roads were terrible, but I just wanted to get home. I hit black ice crossing a bridge. The car spun, then slammed into the guardrail. I remember the sound of metal crunching, then silence. My leg was trapped. My phone had no signal. Snow poured down harder by the second. I started panicking. Nobody even knew where I was. Then I heard barking. Faint at first, then louder. Max. I looked through the cracked window and somehow there he was in the snow beside the car. I still don't know how he found me. He barked non-stop until the truck eventually stopped on the road above us. The driver saw the wreck and called 911. The rescue team told me another 30 minutes in that cold could have been deadly. While they pulled me out, Max sat nearby, wagging his tail like it was any normal day. The paramedic asked me, "How'd your dog know where you were?" I looked at Max and honestly couldn't answer. A few months later, when his health got worse, I stayed beside him every single day. The last thing I said before he closed his eyes was, "You saved me first." And even now, years later, whenever life gets heavy, I still think about that snowy night and the dog nobody wanted. The one who refused to give up on me.